4 wins in 6 races, the Daytona 500, a 95-point championship lead. In 2026, Michael Jordan's 23X1 racing team is producing one of the most dominant starts in NASCAR Cup Series history. Driver Tyler Reddick has been nearly untouchable, and Jordan himself has been a constant celebrating presence in the garage after every single victory. The numbers alone tell a story that few saw coming. But here is what makes this story truly remarkable. Just a few months before this historic run began, Jordan was staring down the very real possibility of being forced out of NASCAR entirely. No team, no charters, no future in the sport. The road from that moment to victory lane is a story about power, money, fairness, and one man who refused to accept a system he believed was fundamentally broken. Jordan announced 23X1 Racing in 2020, partnering with veteran NASCAR driver and co-owner Denny Hamlin. The name itself, 23X1, combines Jordan's iconic jersey number 23 with Hamlin's number 11. Jordan grew up in Wilmington, North Carolina, close to tracks, and had been a fan of the sport long before he became an owner. This was not a celebrity vanity project. I've been a fan. It's not like I just woke up and said, you know what, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna attack now. No, I've been involved in NASCAR, and I've been a supporter of NASCAR for a long period of time. Jordan stated in his CBS Mornings interview with Gayle King, in the early years of ownership, Jordan was in full learning mode, studying how the sport operated, who held power, and how money was distributed across the ecosystem. The deeper he looked, the more uncomfortable he became with what he found. His influence was limited at first. He accepted that, but as his understanding grew, so did his willingness to push back. To understand why Jordan eventually went to court, you need to understand NASCAR's charter system. Introduced in 2016, the charter system was a franchise-like model that guaranteed 36 teams automatic entry into each Cup Series race and promised them new revenue opportunities. On paper, it sounded like a fair deal. In practice, Jordan and other team owners believed it fell significantly short of what had been promised. The revenue distribution was the core of the problem. The teams that were physically putting on the show, hiring drivers, building cars, paying crews, traveling week after week, were not receiving compensation that reflected their role in the sport's success. The sport was not set up for success long-term for the individuals who are involved in the sport. Now, up top, yeah, they could make a living. They were making a good living. And the people that were putting on the show were not getting that type of recognition or compensated fairly, Jordan told Gayle King on CBS Mornings. Beyond the revenue imbalance, there was a second, equally serious structural problem. The charters were set to expire at the end of 2031, meaning teams had no long-term security in the sport they were pouring money and resources into building. After 2031, everything could change overnight, and teams had no leverage to prevent it. In October 2024, 23X1 Racing and Front Row Motorsports, FRM, refused to sign the new charter agreement and filed an antitrust lawsuit against NASCAR, formally accusing the organization and its leadership of operating a monopoly. The filing made headlines across the sports world. The consequences arrived almost immediately. Both teams were stripped of their charters before the trial had even begun. Jordan was now competing inside a sport that had effectively moved to push him out. When the lawsuit became public knowledge, something fundamental shifted in Jordan's approach. The same competitive drive that produced 6 NBA championships, 5 regular season MVP awards, and 6 finals MVP awards locked back in with full force. I was all in. I was aggressively gonna win, you know. I became a competitor all over again, Jordan said. He had entered the lawsuit with complete clarity about what losing could mean. A courtroom defeat could end 23X1 Racing. Being removed from NASCAR entirely was a real and documented possibility. Jordan acknowledged this directly, and made clear it did not soften his position even slightly. Even if I get kicked out of the sport, even if I lose the lawsuit, I'm gonna wake up some people to understand what they're actually doing is wrong, he said. This was not recklessness. Jordan had assessed the situation carefully before acting. I wouldn't sue you if I didn't think we had a good case. And we had a good case, he stated plainly. Co-owner Denny Hamlin stood alongside him throughout the entire process. And driver Tyler Reddick, who competes in the number 45 Toyota Camry for 23X1, later reflected on what it means to operate under Jordan's leadership. Being able to share these moments with Michael is truly amazing, but he's such a competitive person in every aspect of life that it's truly inspiring. The trial formally began on December 1st, 2025 in Charlotte, North Carolina. Over the following 9 days, both sides presented their full arguments. Jordan himself was called to the stand, a moment he openly admitted caused him genuine anxiety. Oh yeah, I was definitely nervous. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I was nervous. Being in any courtroom makes me nervous because that's not where I want to be, really. 100%, he recalled during the CBS interview. Despite those nerves, Jordan testified, his words carried weight in the courtroom. On day 9 of the trial, 23 X1 Racing and Front Row Motorsports reached a settlement agreement with NASCAR. The full financial terms were not publicly disclosed, but the structural outcome was significant and immediate. Cup Series charters were made evergreen, meaning they would no longer expire at the end of 2031. Every team now had a permanent, secured position in the sport. NASCAR chairman and CEO Jim France addressed the outcome publicly. This outcome gives all parties the flexibility and confidence to continue delivering unforgettable racing moments for our fans, which has always been our highest priority since the sport was founded in 1948. Critically, the settlement did not exclusively benefit 23X1 and FRM. Every team in the Cup Series received evergreen charters under improved terms, a sport-wide structural change that altered the foundation of how NASCAR operates for all participants, including smaller and mid-size organizations that had no direct role in the lawsuit itself. With the legal battle resolved, Jordan arrived at the 2026 season in a visibly different state. He has attended every race where 23X1 has visited Victory Lane, and that has happened 4 times in the first 6 races of the year. Reddick opened the season with a victory at the Daytona 500, the single most prestigious event on the NASCAR calendar. He followed that with wins in the next 2 consecutive races, becoming the first driver in NASCAR history to win the opening 3 races of a season. Across those achievements, Reddick joined NASCAR Hall of Famers Dale Earnhardt, 1987, and Bill Elliott, 1992, as the only Cup Series drivers ever to win 4 of the first 6 races in a single season. His 4th victory at Darlington Raceway in South Carolina was especially dramatic. On the very first lap of the race, Reddick radioed his team about an alternator malfunction that caused his car's voltage to drop dangerously. The team replaced the battery with a higher capacity unit after the first stage, but the charging problems did not resolve. With track temperatures high and conditions demanding, Reddick was forced to switch off his cockpit fans and disable his cool suit, the water circulation system that regulates driver body temperature during races. Ambient temperatures that day were in the high 80s Fahrenheit. All day long, just not running fans and sweating my tail off inside the race car. We knew it was going to be physical. Really wore out, but I guess I don't need as much of that cooling stuff as I normally have, Reddick said post-race. Despite the mechanical adversity, Reddick led 77 laps, tracked down race leader Brad Keselowski following his final pit stop, and crossed the finish line with a 5.847-second margin of victory, his 12th career Cup Series win. Keselowski, who led a race-high 142 laps, acknowledged the performance directly. Tyler drove a hell of a race, and he's driving a rocket and making it count right now. Jordan spoke to FS1 from pit row immediately after the checkered flag. Pretty sure it's frustrating for him because he had an unbelievable car, and I think the key to him winning was just keeping his head. He earned it all week, and I'm real proud of the team. Through 6 races, Reddick holds 325 points in the Cup Series championship standings. His closest competitor, Team Penske's Ryan Blaney, sits at 230 points. A gap of 95 points that represents one of the largest early season leads in recent NASCAR history. Reddick's 23X1 teammate Bubba Wallace sits 3rd in the standings, with Denny Hamlin 4th and Hendrick Motorsports' Chase Elliott 5th. The full impact of December's settlement will take years to fully measure. What is already on record is this: evergreen charters give all Cup Series teams, including smaller organizations, permanent security they did not have before. The France family has privately controlled NASCAR since 1948, and no team owner had previously forced a structural change of this scale through legal action. Jordan entered the lawsuit knowing he could lose everything he had built inside the sport. He was stripped of his charters before the trial concluded. He testified under oath in a Charlotte courtroom. He publicly stated he was prepared to be ejected from NASCAR entirely if it meant forcing a real conversation about how the sport treated the people responsible for its product on the track. The 2026 season is now the most immediate, visible result of all of it. 4 wins, a landmark legal settlement, a historic driver performance, and a points lead that no other team in the sport is close to erasing.